homages. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami.
Good morning and welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being here. Very happy to see you. We will begin our service with chanting our Shoshinge, which is in the seat back pocket in front of you or behind you. And thank you, Axe. Our Shoshinge is chanted in these vertical columns from right to left. So go from the top to bottom in vertical columns so you don't get confused. If that's confusing or just disorienting, there's an English translation at the very bottom so you can know what it's all about. But this Shoshinge chant was written by our lineage founder, Shinran Shonin, over 800 years ago. And it is a pleasantly long poem that compresses his teachings of the 7 teachers from India, China, and Japan into this beautiful poem that is meaningful to our lineage. So Shinran wanted us to know that life is more than a simple journey from cradle to grave, and that we are part of this long, unbroken thread of life, which extends deep, deep into the past. And we are responsible for extending this thread into the future. So everyone is encouraged to come up and offer incense in gratitude to the infinite wisdom and compassion that supports us all in our lives. And we call that infinite wisdom and compassion Amida Buddha. We also have 2 other altars in our Hondo, and the Kannon altar on that wall is the compassion altar. So you can light a candle for anyone who could use some extra compassion, or to a group of people, or to someone who has or is about to transition on their life's journey. And then this altar is our medicine Buddha altar for a little extra healing energy, either for yourself or for a loved one. So we offer wisdom and compassion to you all, and our Sangha is all about gratitude. Thank you. Shoshinge. Kimyo 無量寿如来南無不可思議光法蔵菩薩因日財政自在応部省東県勝負浄土院国土人伝自然幕根流無常主将願長法慶右大偶勢五行四唯四生十十世妙正文字法無法無量無変更無限無体公縁の少女歓喜知恵子不断難死無償子超日が交渉人生一切群上無交渉本願用語少女語死心信用願人上等学生大涅槃必死滅道願成就如来所以公主世唯世弥陀本願会五辱惑自群上会往生如来両実言の法一年喜愛心不断本の特涅槃本性逆法再永流妙種死入海一味聖主信仰上昇後意の水波無明暗頓内心臓死運無上不信自信人天非尿に幸福運無運無資源妙無安薬心謙虚大狂気即を超税後悪臭一切善悪本部人門心如来偶勢願仏言古代諸芸者税人妙分大理家弥陀部本元年部邪見教魔楽修上信行十字真理難難中死難無可死インド最天子論芸中華実地一気死こそ現代諸公正所意妙如来本税大き釈迦如来ヨガ戦一種五妙難天竺ルジュ大事出土性出の財派有無権先税大乗無情法召喚議事小安楽賢治難行六六信行異行指導楽億年弥陀部本願人年即時入筆上唯の上昇如来語王大悲偶勢音天神菩薩増論世奇妙無下根如来永寿たら謙信寺高専王朝大聖願こういう本願力栄光移動群上小維心記入功徳大法会筆脈入大永寿宗特使蓮華造世会即称信用法昇進有本の人間人図入賞自音自王下本自動乱両天使上皇乱上菩薩来三蔵ルシ十上教本書専業気楽法天神菩薩論中下報道因果見世願方言栄光ゆたりき少女死因唯心人惑前本部新人法承知承持即涅槃 非死無量光明道小宇宙上回復系同社継承道南省唯名浄土活入万全自力変言宗円満特語感染症三風三神慶音言増魔法明道非因一生増悪地偶税思案妖怪称名化全道独名武将位公愛上三有逆枠公明明語権威年介入本願大地会行者少女今後心表記一年総合用意大と逆三人即小小市上楽原神公開一大教返帰安養管理祭先祖出身反戦人法家二度小弁流国中枠人唯勝部外薬剤非正集中煩悩証言追復権大非無権上昇が本次元空明仏教連民全幕本部人新宗教書後編集戦弱本願具悪性現代生じ臨伝芸慶地義上位少子即入弱上無意楽非知信寺にのんゆ苦境大自主死と上妻無変極直悪同族自主愚道心唯過信し高祖世ナムアミダブナムアミダブナムアミダブナムアミダブナムアミダブナムミダジョブのこの方は今に自己をへたまえりおしんのこうり
would like to invite the children to Dharma School. They can go with Reverend Shelley and Aaron. We can sing them out with Let's Buddha Walk With You. Is it time for the reading? Oh, good, okay. Ordinarily, we would have a reading at this time, but my dear friends Daigon and Alicia are unable to read anymore. So, they were kind enough to leave with us recorded messages. They actually put them on the telephone answering machine, and if you called the temple, you could press 1 to hear a talk, little short talk, really short, a minute, 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, but still. Hopefully our friends in the streaming world can see this too. They're on the podium camera. Just give me the high sign if it's good. Okay, good. Okay. So our first Dharma reading will be from Reverend Alicia Matsunaga.
This is Reno Buddhist Church. Today's message is entitled Suffering. The first sermon the historical Buddha Shakyamuni preached to his original core of disciples in Deer Park at Istipatana was the Four Noble Truths, along with the principle of the Middle Way. The Four Noble Truths declare: 1. Suffering, dukkha, exists. 2. There is a cause of suffering. 3. That cause can be terminated. And 4. The means by which to terminate the cause. The first noble truth, suffering, exists, basically means that life is suffering. Now, this is not a pessimistic view of existence, but rather is realistic. The historical Buddha's view of life could be termed as being a doctor, and as a doctor he provided a diagnosis, first to discover the problem, its cause, determining it is curable, and lastly, the cure. Saying that life is suffering basically means a description of mortal life, beset not only by obvious sufferings such as pain, sickness, old age, and the inevitability of death, but also by the loss of loved ones, not receiving what we desire, having to endure things we dislike, the fact that the world around us constantly changes and does not move in accord to our rhythm. All these are sufferings. Even happiness causes suffering, as we are unable to hold it, grasp it, and keep it. There is no perfect happiness, nor unalloyed pleasure, and even the most beautiful experience has a bittersweet flavor because we know it cannot last. In our own minds, we fight and struggle against this basic reality of life and rationalize the frustration or pain along the way and say it is short-lived. But we are capable of overcoming it, and eventually, with sufficient good luck, we will have wealth, power, and the attainment of a solid goal, and then we will attain happiness forever. But this is refusal to accept our human condition, a desire to submerge ourselves in the world of fantasy and escape reality. Before we can attain a true understanding of the nature of our life and our role in existence, we must spend some time in self-reflection, recognizing that life is not satisfactory, and asking ourselves why we're uneasy, why life is not as we wish it to be. Realizing that life cannot be lived as a fantasy to suit ourselves is the first step to curing the cause for our alienation with reality, the cause that leads to our suffering. And this self-reflection is the first step towards enlightenment. Namo Amida Butsu.
And then we have a message from Reverend Daigon.
Today's message deals with the fundamental Buddhist attitude toward life known as the middle way. With the complexities and confusions of modern society, mankind is desperately searching for new values, new solutions for current problems, and an entire new way of life. But we must remember that what we believe to be new and contemporary is not necessarily truthful. Yet truth is forever new. Being 2,500 years old, Buddhism is an ancient religion. Yet its thought transcends cultural and racial differences as well as chronological time. It does offer us new solutions for the problems of the modern age. Why is Buddhism contemporary? Because it has always dealt with the reality of human existence. It is a philosophy of life for a common suffering man. Buddhism commences with a very true observation of the nature of human existence. And the middle way, which is neither optimistic nor pessimistic, is the basic attitude of Buddhist life. Optimists tend to obscure or evade the suffering reality of man. But without honestly confronting the fact of human suffering, they fail to find a solution for man's dilemma. Pessimists, on the other hand, completely submerge themselves in suffering and are overwhelmed by their negative view of life and despair. They thus amplify their own suffering and fail to find even a clue to solve their life problems. Avoiding the extremes of optimism and pessimism, Buddhism teaches us first to observe and recognize the suffering reality of our life as calmly as possible without panic or fear. And self-reflection becomes the starting point to find the solution for our problems as well as the beginning of our spiritual salvation. Through honest inner self-reflection, discovery of the true plight of our existence can be accomplished. To see reality as it really is, without distortion, is essential for our salvation. Thank you.
Thank you, and now we will have a few minutes of meditation accompanied by music. I did not realize how I would feel an emotional kind of wave when I heard their voices. I was kind of surprised by that. I didn't know Alicia very much. I only knew her for a year before she died. But Daigon I spent a lot of time with. I'm happy that we accidentally recorded and saved. They were on little tiny cassette tapes in the back of the drawer in the office. Those messages were from that system. Fortunately, somebody just threw them in the back of the drawer. Otherwise, they would have gone with the machine, and then that would have been it. So, we are all very happy to see you all here today. I'd like to welcome everybody kind of over and over again. That's just our style. It has been an interesting winter. I felt as though today maybe it will turn a little bit warmer, but I was optimistic, and then I was out sweeping, and I thought, well, it is chilly. So fortunately, I had my hat covering my bald head, but these weeks have been pleasant. We finished our Buddhism 101 class yesterday, and then we'll start a Shin Buddhism class next month, 3 sessions there. And as always, we gathered in our community to share joyful chanting. Our Dharma book group is engaged and interested in a Dharma book. It's kind of an operating manual for a human being. It's kind of for the human mind. It's very interesting. And Golden Light Meditation gathered on Thursday as well. It's just happy Sangha life. And it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for these 2 gentle people that we honor today. Reverends Daigon and Alicia Matsunaga. We keep their pictures here on the wall of the founders. They'll be there forever. Temples always have a wall dedicated to the founders, and that's where their pictures are. In ancient temples, there are scrolls, paintings sort of like that. We'll end up having these for a long, long time. We need to take time and remember on this occasion of remembering Daigon's death. He died on February 21st in Japan. Across the date line, so I can't figure out if that was the 22nd here or the 20th here. But anyway, about this time of year, we lost him many years ago in 2010. We want to honor their extraordinary and courageous vision of creating a Buddhist temple for us 34 years ago here in Reno. They have our sincere gratitude for this gift. We would not be sitting here together in this moment if it wasn't for their incredible, unselfish energy and the spark of an idea, a crazy spark of an idea. 34 years ago, Reno was a very different place, and even so, they just jumped in and did it. So they're very exceptional people to have that kind of vision. And we will never be able to repay their kindness. Reverend Matsunaga Daigon was loved and known for his energetic sense of humor and his humility. He was grounded in a sense of naturalness and true and trusting. That was his heart of Nembutsu. He was a very scholarly and knowledgeable person, as you could kind of hear in his reading. But he was always just so relaxed and natural with people. Easy and kind, always. He often began his Dharma talks by describing a change of season or some reference to nature. You might notice that mine often do that too. I'm just doing what he did. That's what I do here. Sharing his teaching onward. In those days, Daigon's family temple in Hokkaido and this temple were both their responsibilities. So sometimes they would be in Japan, sometimes they would be here. and they would stream Dharma talks to us from Japan. There was a big screen TV here for that purpose in those days. He loved to share. In the springtime, where they were in the middle of the rice fields in Hokkaido, there would be thousands and thousands of frogs croaking, because he'd have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to send us the Dharma talk live, and so there would be this deafening sound of frogs croaking. So he'd hold the microphone up to the window, and it sounded like a lot of frogs. He just loved life and the world around us. 34 years ago, Reverend Daigon Lee Matsunaga and his American wife, Reverend Alicia Orloff Matsunaga, opened our Reno Buddhist Center. They said, we had 3 friends and 4 dogs sitting in the hall, and that's how we started. So, Alicia loved animals. She was a rescuer. Today, we have about 1,480 people on our mailing list for the temple. That's a number that I think Reverend Matsunaga would say it was remarkable. So, he noticed that so many people are interested in Buddhism. He said, we don't knock on their doors and proselytize our faith. They come on their own. And you are coming on your own or with friends to hear the teachings of Pure Land Buddhism. That's a branch of Mahayana Buddhism that Matsunaga considered real Buddhism. He said that. It's a little embarrassing, but that's what he thought. Jodo Shinshu, we call it. He taught us all about Buddhism. We are a non-theistic religion founded in India around the year 563 BCE. Buddha is a name that Siddhartha used to describe himself to his students. It meant he had experienced the feeling of being awake. He left his wealth and family in search of serenity and joy for all beings. That compassionate impulse is what drove the Buddha to his study and achievement. Our Mahayana Buddhism is one of the major lineages of Buddhism, and it is found mainly in Asia, but also in Europe and America. That I can prove. The main teaching of Pure Land is that by understanding the concept of impermanence, anicca, and realizing that our ego self is temporary, we can take refuge in the wisdom and compassion of the universe and reach spiritual awakening. What Matsunaga called seeing reality as it is in that recording. Yeah. Pure Land Buddhists are certainly students of Shakyamuni Buddha. What separates our branch of the tree of Buddhism from other branches is the view that these days most people cannot reach nirvana by themselves. Rather, taking refuge in the infinite light and infinite life is more effective. We chant our Nembutsu, which is bringing the Buddha to mind. That's what Nenbutsu means. Harmonizing with Buddha mind might be a way of saying what we do. So when we say Namu Amida Butsu, that is what we're doing. Matsunaga grew up in a Buddhist temple in Hokkaido, the snowy northernmost island of Hokkaido. He would point out when we were visiting that if you could just go west, you run into North Korea. He thought that was funny, and then he said that occasionally people would go to the beach in Hokkaido and not come back because the North Korean commandos would scoop them off the beach and take them. He was a funny guy. He said that when our children and we were all on the beach and we were thinking, okay, so let's go somewhere else now. Didn't know if a submarine was going to come up and, So, his grandfather established the Eikyoji Temple in 1900 in Hokkaido. And in those days, 1900, they would have been chopping trees, old-growth forest down to make fields. That was the initial pioneers of Hokkaido were coming at that point. Daigon followed his father's and grandfather's footsteps and became the third temple master of that temple. He had a strong connection to the United States. He learned English from watching cowboy movies, and then for that reason he sought out a way to come to America. And in 1964 he got a scholarship to study in LA, and he got his master's degree and doctorate in theology from Claremont University. And he taught at Cal State Northridge for 13 years. But he knew that someday he would have to go back to Japan, because when his father passed onward, someone else would have to take over the family temple there. But he said, fortunately, my father lived a long life. So he had 13 years of freewheeling Southern California experience before he had to go back. One of his personal goals was to plant a seed and ensure the future of American Buddhism. He and Reverend Alicia chose Reno to do that because it had only a small Asian population. He'd say, you don't have to be Japanese to be a Buddhist. And it was his experimental ground, he would call it. They started the temple and split their time between Japan and Reno. They traveled to Reno maybe 4 times a year, though toward the end of Alicia's life, she lived here full time, and Daigon flew back and forth. She wasn't able to travel when she was sick. She died 25 years ago, so she only really experienced 10 years of the experiment. The first 10 years were probably quite exciting, but it seems like the following 20 years have also been quite wonderful. After Alicia was gone, in those months he was in Japan, Daigon would speak to us and use a point-to-point type of streaming system. You'd have a box here and a box in Japan and a box here, and connect them to a video camera. And it was a two-way deal. So he was kind of ahead of his time. He liked technology and solutions like that. So he did call this his second home. But he wanted to see Buddhism grow here. That was important to him. He said the spirit of enlightenment can enrich this culture and make America even greater. So those were his goals. And to actualize those goals, he gave us a bunch of gifts. I wouldn't say 1 gift or 3 gifts, though when they say, teach you how to write a Dharma talk, you're supposed to have 3 things. I've got like 12 things, so just don't worry about it. What are those gifts? First of all, coming here pleases all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions. It's a delight for them that we gather here. This is the greatest benefit of faithfully coming to the temple. To value the Buddha is to think, say, and do the things that direct the world's attention to the Buddha's truly magnificent achievement, his vast understanding and sharing the Dharma of enlightenment with all beings. When we participate in the temple, we embody this in our life, whether we are sitting, standing, or lying down, as the sutra says. When we gather, chant, ponder the Dharma together, that always throws me off, I'm sorry. We're bringing the Buddha to mind, Nembutsu, as I said before. The purpose of our existence is to grow spiritually. And we are here together to share and support all beings in that growth. And so the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions are overjoyed that we're here together. Matsunaga gave us that opportunity. He gave us this place to gather. Participating at the temple is an act of love for your neighbor. We're not saved from the ocean of birth and death because we come to the temple. It is the other way around. We attend the temple because we've already been touched by the other power or the Tariki, and we've been given a wonderful gift, the impulse to come through the door. It's kind of like a life preserver thrown from the ship of the vow to we who flounder in the turbulent sea of samsara. At the temple, we tune in to this Tariki. Sometimes they say grace, sometimes they say other power or energy. The Dharma works by amplifying our loving heart and making us more like Buddha. In our modern culture, it's filled with anger and rage. Followers of the Buddha cultivate the virtues of patience and loving kindness. Virtues in great demand and very short supply. As Matsunaga said, Amida Buddha doesn't need you to go to the temple, but our Sangha does. Matsunaga gave us wisdom. Coming here can make you smarter. We share the Dharma through sutras and commentaries. We engage the Buddha's ideas with our minds. Reading the sutras is, I don't know, has anybody read a sutra? Just show of hands, anyone who's ever read a sutra? Not everybody, and it's not easy. So it's very challenging. Sometimes the translations are archaic, and so that makes it challenging for us. It requires a working knowledge of a new vocabulary. If you're new to us, many of the words we use will seem like, what's that word? They come from Pali language, Sanskrit language, Chinese, and Japanese languages too. So it's very engaging in the intellectual side to participate in the temple. My friend Rajan Zed, who's a Hindu priest, said, Buddhism is for smart people. Okay. Hinduism is for everybody. I think this is for everybody, but so. Matsunaga was a professor. Alicia was a professor. She was actually a feared professor at UCLA, so it was because she was very serious about things. She wasn't mean, no sticks or anything, but so they expect us to do some hard work thinking on these important ideas and folding them into our lives. That engages our mind. That's one of the gifts. Matsunaga gave us the gift of good health. Really, you say? Many sutras say that the Dharma students can count good health as an important benefit. Temple attendance makes you healthier. Our Buddhist worldview is a logical way of looking at life. If we believe our bodies are vessels that manifest by causes and conditions, interlinked and interdependent with all other beings, we will manage our health for the sake of everyone. So, deep faith in the Buddha equips us to live wisely. Knowing karma is real, we practice self-control and moderation. We pursue habits that are skillful and abstain from unwholesome actions that are harmful. I even read a study once that said that engaging in meaningful fellowship, like in a sangha, can reduce stress and the risk of mortality by 55%. I guess that's true. And then it said among middle-aged adults, the results may vary, but anyway. But really, participation and attendance makes people live and love life. Matsunaga knew well that coming to the temple can save your life. He gave us the gift of a happiness place. Wanting happiness is a normal instinct of all beings. We avoid suffering and we seek out joyful experience. That is Matsunaga's great wish for all of us. The Buddha's great quest has always been to deliver sentient beings from suffering to joy. We know that desperate sorrow rises out of hopelessness, groundlessness, and aloneness. Followers of the Buddha have solid and real reasons to hope. The temple is here to help us. Weekly interaction with hopeful people is good for your happiness. Matsunaga gave us this place to make us more generous. Only at a temple do you hear the idea that you own nothing and that a vast everythingness is the true nature of reality. We are entrusted with means and opportunities, and we are charged with living well and sharing our good fortune with everyone. In this way, Matsunaga gave us this wholesome chance to experience dana, or giving. Very discreetly placed around the hondo. There are little boxes on the wall, and they have a slot in them, and people are generous, and they support the temple. That's the only support we have, is those little boxes. But it's an opportunity, right? In this way, he gave us a wholesome experience. Generosity toward the temple and our fellow beings. And people who give generously at the temple also are much more likely to give to other worthy causes in their life compared to someone who doesn't. So, he gave us this place that protects our relationships. As we come to here, we hear Dharma talks exhorting the friends and partners and husbands and wives to love each other, keep their commitments, and forgive each other. The Sigalovada Sutra is all about that. We talk about that from time to time. In our community of faith, the Dharma draws us closer to each other in kindness and compassion. Now, there are countless forces that pull relationships apart, but sharing faith in the Buddha is a way to weave that fabric of relationship back together, to weave the fabric of community back together. Matsunaga gave us this place to protect us from delusional thinking. As a pillar and buttress of the truth, the Dharma holds up reality as it is to a largely deluded world. When a culture reaches a certain level of distortion, where photographing yourself repeatedly is considered normal, for instance, the Buddhas come in those times and offer us a lifeline. The Nembutsu is there to rescue us, living in gratitude, in real and solid and joyful life. So, we need the Dharma. Modern days seem strangely detached sometimes from historical logic of reality. We are told that up is down and down is up. This is delusional thinking. If that assessment sounds harsh, it's because we've been conditioned to believe things that aren't actually true. One of the only places left in America that has the courage to clearly speak the truth is our Dharma refuge, a temple where the Buddha's words are spoken. So many people are adrift, influenced by a world that has lost any sense of a moral compass. Anything goes, everything is relative. No, that is not true. Daigon repeatedly told us that is not true. There is truth. Many of us are lost and alone, separated from the very idea of what is just right and skillful, what is wholesome. And through the temple we can rediscover that. Dr. Matsunaga gave us all these gifts. He gave it as his dana, expecting nothing in return. He gave us a sacred place to bring the Buddha to mind. He gave us the Dharma through his talks and the books he published. And he gave us this Sangha, a supportive community that will help and guide us in our spiritual growth, guide us to compassionate living. He gave these gifts at great sacrifice to himself. He followed the example of his father and his grandfather, and we can follow his example and do our part to dream his dream onward. Our place is to receive these gifts well, to care for them and give them forward. Thank you. To finish, let's share Daigon and Alicia's wish for all of us. They want us to, let's say, may you be happy. May you be free from harm. May you receive boundless compassion. And may peace and harmony fill your heart. Namaste. 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 At this point, we usually stand and sing our Reno Buddhist Center theme song, which we will do. So if you would stand. Alicia selected this song from the movie How the West Was Won because the Mita Buddha's Pure Land is in the West, though it's a trillion miles in the West, but still, it's a Western song. Time now for the announcements. There are tea and treats downstairs. Through that door, circle around into the Haroma Hall, the Fellowship Hall downstairs. There will be a newcomer's circle, so if you're new and you have questions about Buddhism, George Killeran, his hand is raised there. He will be at a table, and that's the place to gather. I will be there with you presently. There are many announcements printed on the order of service. You can read those. There's also a calendar on the back of it, in case you did not know that. It's useful. But our big announcement are two big announcements. Which one is the big announcement? I'm not sure. Shin Buddhism class starts Saturday, March 4th. Please sign up for that. It'll be 3 Saturday mornings, and we'll talk specifically about Shin Buddhism and what that means and how it works and how you can participate in the temple and get a full experience. The big announcement is that the Founders Dinner will be February 24th, Friday, at 6 p.m. And so everyone's invited to come to that and bring a potluck dish of whatever kind you like to bring, and we will share some stories about Daigon Alicia. And we actually have a little documentary that the TV station in LA made about Daigon and the temple, and we'll probably show that in 2 parts. So that will be fun.